Hey friends, welcome back. We are doing lesson 21 for Wit and Wisdom. So let's get busy. I'm gonna put it back here on my screen. There we go. And let me get it closer. All right, we are gonna record the elements of the Cinderella story. So what are the elements of Cinderella's stories in Adelita? So we're going to look at the good characters. So we're going to look on page 2 and 4 and see if we can figure out who the good characters are. A long time ago in a village in Mexico, there lived a man named Francisco and his beautiful wife, Adela. One day, Adela said, "Francisco, we are going to have a baby." Adela, Francisco said, "So happy." And then he said, "We must send for Esperanza. She will come and take care of you until the baby is born. And then she will help us with the baby." Esperanza had been with Mercado family since she was a young girl and had looked after Francisco when he was a baby. And then who is the character there that's good? Esperanza. So I'm going to write Esperanza here. Okay, let's look at page 4 and see who the good character is. Time passed and Adelita grew into a beautiful young woman. The Mercado house was full of happiness. Who's the next good character? It's Adelita, right? All right, so now let's look at page 9 for the evil character. Page 9. So page 9 says Adelita began spending all of her time in the kitchen with Esperanza. She helped with her meals. She listened to stories about her father and a boy and her mother as a young bride because she knew that Esperanza loved her. Adelita's heart stayed as warm as the fire in the hearth. One day, Dona Michaela came into the kitchen and spoke to them about spending too much money in the household. "From now on, Adelita, you will work in the kitchen. You are here all the time anyway. And you, Esperanza, out. I want you to leave immediately." Who's an evil character there? The stepmother, right? Yes, the stepmother. I'm going to write it as stepmom. And then let's see here. Then Adelita, in despair, the days ahead held nothing but loneliness and hard work. Adelita had to prepare all meals, clean the rooms, fetch and carry for Valentina and Dulce, who became more like meanness and vinegar. So who else was evil? The stepsisters, right? I'm going to put Valentina and Dulce. Okay. So now let's look at the magical element from the story, page 15 and 21. The magical element. It was Esperanza. "Oh, Esperanza, I have missed you so much," Adelita cried. "Don't cry, my little one," Esperanza said. "I am here. I had a dream that Dona Michaela would not let you go to the fiesta, so I've come to help. I borrowed a cart to take you there." "But I have nothing to wear," Adelita said. "Come with me," Esperanza said, and they went to the storeroom. "Over there behind those boxes is your mother's trunk. The key is behind the crucifix." Adelita unlocked the trunk, and inside she found an old-fashioned beautiful white dress, and under the dress was a magnificent rebozo, which is a shawl with birds and flowers. "Oh, my little mother," Adelita whispered. Let's see here. "Oh, Esperanza," said, "Dona Michaela will be furious when she sees me." "Don't worry, she will never recognize you," Esperanza assured her. "Now, let's hurry." So what's the magical element there? It's not a what, it's a who. Who do you think it is? Esperanza is the magical element. Because she made it to where Adelita wouldn't be noticed, right? Okay. And let's look at the proof of identity on page 23. Adelita, they screamed, come help us quickly. I'll be right there, Adelita answered. But before she went to Valentina and Dulce, she ran to her attic room and hung her mother's rebozo out the window. Soon she saw Javier coming down the street on his horse. He saw the rebozo. He jumped down and ran to the door and knocked. So what is the proof of identity here? It's not a shoe, is it? It's the rebozo. The rebozo. So the proof of identity is the rebozo. Okay. Let's move on. All right, our focus question. Why do people admire Adelita and Pear Blossom? And our framing, how does Adelita build my knowledge? So today we're going to work on how does it build our knowledge? But for now, let's focus on this diagram. What kind of diagram is this? It's a Venn diagram. And what do we do with Venn diagrams? We compare and contrast, okay? And we see how things like in the middle. So today, that's what we're going to compare. We're going to compare Ella from Bigfoot Cinderella, and we're going to compare Adelita. And we're going to see how they're different and how they are alike. So you have a handout that I will share and show you real quickly. I'm going to share my screen here. And it's got these picture cards on it. All right. These cards you are going to separate for the Venn diagram. Okay. So you've got to cut them up and sort them to whether they're Ella's or Adelita's or both with their experiences. So I'm going to stop sharing here and go back to my Venn diagram up front. So if I said something that lives in a forest, who lives in a forest? Ella does. So I'm going to write lives in a forest. Okay. Lives in Mexico. Ooh, Adelita does, doesn't she? Great. Who has to fish for her family? Ella does. Who married the man? They both did, didn't they? What about who had evil stepmom and stepsisters? They both did. Let's see here. Who dunks the prince? Ooh, Ella did. Dunked the prince at the Fun Fest, didn't she? Ooh. Dunks prince at Fun Fest. Okay. Who has to clean and cook for her family? That'd be Adelita, wouldn't it? Who wears a rebozo? Adelita. And And let's see here. Who has a berry godfather? Ella. Now that may not be all of your pieces, but those are a few of your pieces, okay? Notice how they are different, but then notice how they are alike because they both marry the man and they both have evil stepmom and stepsisters. So on yours, you're going to cut your pieces apart and you're going to place them on your sheet, okay? And if you can't do it that way with your sheet, then you could always do it on a piece of notebook paper and sort of that way, like put Adelita on one side, Ella on one side, and both there in the middle, and just list the pictures down underneath them if they won't fit on the Venn diagram, which will be perfectly fine because those pictures are kind of big. All right, so let's record some knowledge. What did we learn from studying Adelita? So now let's think about what did we learn? What was the essential question here? Remember that? What did we learn about comparing Cinderella's characters? Experiences. What did we learn about Adelita's traits? Why do people around the world admire Cinderella? Well, let's talk about that. We know Adelita is a lot like the Cinderella stories, isn't it? Because you've got the magical element, you've got the good, you've got the evil, and you've got the proof of identity. But goodness overcomes evil, doesn't it, in all of these stories? So let's talk about our journal, knowledge. What do I know? Well, I know there are a lot of similarities between our Cinderella stories. Okay, what else do I know? I know that they have different versions for like their clothing, their housing, their food, and their languages. So different versions, eating food, clothes, language. And so we know all of these take place in different places. So the setting is in different places. All right, so let's talk about what we can do. We can write an introduction, conclusion. And we can also use a Venn diagram, can't we? And we know Venn diagrams, we can compare and contrast items. All right, so let's move on. So let's experiment with some introductions. Our craft question, this is what we're going to try to figure out. How do introductions work in opinion paragraphs? So let's talk about it. What are 2 ways we learned to write introductions? Well, don't we use the title of the story in the introduction? And we also use details, don't we? We read the story and we can fill in the title, right? And then here we can talk about a character in the story. That is 2 ways we have learned to write our introduction. So we're going to look at handout 21C. We're going to look there. And let me mute that for a second, and we're going to share 21C here. Let me get rid of all these floating things here. All right, so this is 21C. I'm going to scoot it up. It's called the rebozo. All right. Now in this, it says, follow along as your teacher reads a paragraph that responds to the question, which proof of identity do you think is the best, the bark clock or the rebozo? Write an introduction to the opinion paragraph on the lines below. And then below it, there is a paragraph written. So we've got to figure out which one is the best to write for a good introduction to this paragraph. You have to choose which one would be better. So the paragraph is down here at the bottom, and it says, in my opinion, the rebozo is the best proof of identity. Javier saw the rebozo hanging in the window. He knew the girl was in the house. That is why the rebozo is the best proof of identity. So now you're going to come up and you are going to write an introduction to this opinion paragraph. So which proof of identity do you think is best? The bark clock or the rebozo? So now you're going to write your introduction right here on those 2 lines. Okay. Let's move on. I'm going to stop sharing. All right, let me bring it back up front. Let me shift my board again. So our framing, how does Adelita build my knowledge? Well, how does it build our knowledge? We know that in this, that Adelita had evil stepmom and stepsisters. We also know that she had her proof of identity. That was her rebozo. We also know that Esperanza was the magical element there, right? She was going to take care of Adelita. So fluency check-in. So let's get back down here and let's share my screen with our fluency. So our fluency, here we go. Yes, ladies, I remember you, but it's another that I'm looking for. There's no one else here. Yes, there is. Are you looking for me, senor? There was Adelita standing at the top of the stairs in her mother's dress and rebozo. My Cenicienta, Javier asked Adelita to marry him. We shall live happily ever after. And they did. Okay. Where's my mouse at? We're going to stop sharing and bring it back to the front. about this. When do we use capital letters in a sentence? Ooh, we made a chart the last time, remember? We use it if there's an I. We use it if there's the first letter, don't we? Or if there's names or days or dates. So how do I capitalize names of people and dates in my writing? Who were the characters in the text? Let's talk about that. Who were the characters? We know there was Esperanza, and we knew there was Adelita, right? And then the stepmom and the stepsisters. In the ball, Adelita wore Adela's dress. On Saturday, I went to the ball. So what's wrong with those sentences? There's no capitalization for people's names, is there? So let's look at that first sentence. Adelita is a person's name, isn't it? We need to capitalize Adelita, but she wore Adela's dress. So Adela needs to be capitalized also. Let's look at our next sentence. On Saturday, I went to the ball. Look at that beginning letter. It should be capitalized, shouldn't it? Oh, there's a day of the week. What do we need to do with it? We need to capitalize that also. What about the little I? Can we keep a little I in the sentence like that? No, the only time you should see a little I is in the middle of the word. So that I needs to be capitalized because it stands alone. So you are going to write two sentences, the first sentence with the name in it, and then your second sentence with the day of the week in it. Easy enough said, right? And just put those in your journal. So you're going to write two sentences, the first sentence with the name and the second sentence with the day of the week. Okie dokie, my friends. Well, the time has come to the end. It's the end of our lesson. Until tomorrow, I will see you then, friends. Have a great day.